I woke up, took my pills, had a nice shower, quickly slipped on my uniform, ate a tasty breakfast, grabbed my bag, and headed off, all as per my usual daily routine. It was only after arriving in class that the normality of the day was thrown off. After taking my seat, I watched my classmates trickle into the room over the next hour until every empty seat was eventually taken, other than Hanako's. I can never get used to the idea that she just doesn't show up to class every now and again. It feels all the more worrying now as well, given that Lily's left. As Muto continues to drone on, I find my gaze flicking ever so often over to her seat, as if she might appear there any moment now. Nobody else seems to care at all about her absence, but they have little reason to. Hanako being absent from class, after all, is perfectly normal. Or at least it was. Her attendance hasn't been all that bad from what I've seen in my time here, but it was apparently much more spotty beforehand. This is also an ominous time for her to be gone. It's the day before her birthday, and my suspicions are starting to rise after the breakdown she had in class when it was mentioned. An increasing amount of my thoughts is taken up by how I can help her, but in the end, I feel like I can't do anything. The bell heralding the beginning of lunchtime rings out, shaking me out of my thoughts. A collective sigh of relief can be heard from the class, though Muto looks quite put off. He dislikes being interrupted in the middle of his exciting lectures, after all. Just when I'm wondering what I should do on lunch break, given that Hanako and Lily aren't here, the solution presents itself. Afternoon, Hichan! Shizune signs. Afternoon, Misha, Shizune. You both look as bright as ever. She continues. Shi-chan wants to know if you'd like to have lunch with us today. Sure, I say. It'll be good to have some company. The cafeteria hums with activity, much like my old schools did. Yamaku is different, though, in how strangely civilized the lunchtime rush is. What one would expect to be an unruly mob chomping at the bit to get to the serving area is rather a neat and organized line. There's a small amount of jostling, and people's heads are often craning around to check on what's happening up ahead, but it's pretty subdued. This is due, no doubt, to the very serious rules regarding such matters in this school. The same strict discipline is observed when students move in the hallways or come to and from their dormitories and the school gate. While the reasons for it may be slightly off-putting, I've come to quite like this sense of order that's enforced in the school. I didn't really like being told by Shizune and Misha to get their lunches, though. I feel a little used as I take a seat at the table where they're sitting, plunking their food down in front of them. Sweet bread and strawberry milk for Misha, a bowl of ramen and juice for Shizune. I heave a sigh of relief as I put it down after the significant difficulty I had carrying it all in addition to my own lunch. Thank you! Misha claps her hands together before popping open the wrapper and digging into her bread ravenously. Shizune simply gives an appreciative nod before giving her steaming ramen a stir and blowing on it a little to cool it down. I open my own lunch, another packet of sweetbread, and take a bite before washing it down with some juice. The bread is very sweet, so much so I end up forcing myself to stomach it just to get the experience over with. Midway through, I decide to take a break from the difficult task and ask what's on my mind. So, I'm guessing you two had a reason to drag me down here. You two seem to always have an ulterior motive, after all.
What are you saying, Hisao? We don't have any ulterior motive.
Her mouth is full of sweetbread as she speaks. It's a pretty unpleasant sight. Shizune looks a little grossed out before going back to eating her ramen. I wait until Misha swallows what she has in her mouth before speaking again. You're not buttering me up to make me work with you after school? Nope, Misha says. Not trying to extract information from me that I might not want to give? Nuh-uh. Fine, you win. I guess you just wanted to eat lunch with someone as intelligent and handsome as me then. That's it, Hee-chan. You got it. Shizune looks unimpressed as Misha finishes signing our conversation and sucks in the last of a long noodle as she signs her own thoughts. Shi-chan says you shouldn't be so suspicious of us. She's just doing her duty as a class representative, after all. How is she... are you doing that, I ask. As much as I hate to admit it, it looks as if I still have trouble communicating with Shizune. It should be a simple matter of keeping eye contact with her and addressing Shizune instead of Misha in my speech. But when someone else is doing the talking for her, it's a surprisingly difficult task. Shizune signs. It's the class representative's job to ensure everyone's doing all right in class, isn't it? Not really, I say. Wait, how is making me get your food ensuring that I'll go well in class? Shizune huffs and adjusts her glasses disapprovingly. So, is this the thanks we get for giving you companionship during lunchtime? That's a total dodge of the question. Wait, hang on. How did you know that I... Shizune signs. Lily's away and Hanako is absent, and since those two are the only people you hang around with... She continues signing. You also made it kind of obvious to see... Ouch. I may well have done so, but she didn't need to rub it in. Maybe this is payback for before. Right. Well, thanks, I say. I appreciate it, and that isn't sarcasm. The two nod, and we get back to finishing our meals. It feels a little embarrassing to be accompanied just because they noticed I was lonely, but it isn't as if they are strangers either. It isn't long before I finish the last of my bread and start on the last of my juice, and as I do so, I find my mind wandering back to what I've been thinking about before the two interrupted my train of thought. It feels like I'm the only one in the class that so much as acknowledges Hanako not being there. It felt like this the other time she skipped class, but now it's even more acutely annoying. Does nobody care if she's happy or not? Have they just written off any possibility of helping to make her better? Even Muto doesn't try to keep her in class, and I'm still not wholly convinced by his reasoning. Hey, Hee-chan, is your juice past its expiry date? What, I ask? You were pulling a weird face, like this. As if it were needed, Misha mimics my own expression. Her exaggeration makes me grimace, though. Shizune at least takes some amusement from it. I was just thinking about Hanako, I answer. Oh? Misha's interest is piqued, and so is Shizune's once my words are interpreted for her. I'm just worried about her being absent so often. Especially now, though, what with her birthday coming around. The memories of that incident in class are still fresh in their minds. Their faces alone are telling that much. Do you know anything about Hanako, I ask? Anything that might help? Misha shrugs and looks to Shizune, who mulls on this for a while. She begins to sign. The only people she's ever talked to for more than a sentence or two are you and Lily. Shizune may not be able to convey Lily's name in a derisive tone of speech, but I feel as if it comes through in her sign language. The effect is lost, however, after Misha's interpretation. She continues to sign. There are a couple of things we know about Hanako as student council members, thanks to the records that pass through our hands, but we can't say anything about what's in them. Understandable, I say. It sounds a lot like the nurse's patient confidentiality. Every time I find someone that knows something about Hanako's past, it turns up being a dead end. The only way I'll ever find out is by asking her. I don't know if she'll let me know such things, but if it's for her sake, I have to at least try. Shizune signs. Don't worry about it, Hichan. It happens every year, after all. That doesn't remove my sense of worry at all. I still feel a little at fault for what happened in class, but this feels like it goes further, even without their confirmation of that fact. Misha notes my troubled expression, her own usually happy and reassuring face drooping. Everyone has problems they have to deal with, right, Hichan? Yeah, I say. I just wish I could help Hanako more with hers. With that, the conversation trails off on a depressing note. Eventually, Misha manages to pick the mood back up through her usual bright and bubbly antics, but my mind remains focused on Hanako. I'll go check on her later. I make sure my door is locked after dropping off my school bag. The dorms are quiet. Muto kept me occupied longer than I expected, discussing my studies after classes ended and pressing on me some worksheets to give to Hanako almost as an afterthought. Absorbed in thought, I'm late in registering the shadow that appears in front of me. Looking up reveals the owner of said shadow. Hey, man. Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, hi. What's with that response? My absent-minded greeting visibly annoys him. I'd probably have had the same reaction. Sorry, just thinking about a lot of stuff. Thinking is a pretty poor excuse not to be aiding the war effort. And how goes the war, I ask him. I am preparing. Right now I need money to help with those preparations. If you want me to loan you money, just say it, I tell him. No, man, I'm good. You're good? You don't want my money? Hey, man, don't look so surprised. It's insulting. I'm pretty big in the competitive bowling scene, but yesterday I found some guys who didn't know that. I'm pretty sure that betting would be against school rules, I tell him. School rules don't matter. This is a war situation. People these days, they have no appreciation for what war means. So what do you need this money for, dare I ask? Non-perishable canned food, building materials, mostly corrugated iron and wood panels, first aid kit, camping heater, portable radio, sleeping bag, flashlight, mechanical clock. At first it strikes me as a rather random assortment of objects and materials, but after a few seconds it clicks. Isn't that a list of materials for a fallout shelter, I ask him. Ah, so you've read a Protect and Survive booklet. It's good to see someone so knowledgeable about how to protect themselves. You don't seriously think? It's a non-zero possibility, he answers. No, I'm pretty sure there's zero possibility of that ever happening, I reply. He slowly and dramatically raises an eyebrow. Well, as dramatically as one can raise an eyebrow. The chance is, I don't know, 0.1 to the trillionth place, I tell him. It's infinitesimal. Besides, where can you build a fallout shelter anyway? Certainly not on campus. It's my summer holiday project while I'm at home. My dad said I can do it. Really? I ask. Yeah, he thought it'll improve my crafting skills and manual dexterity. Or something. Knowing Kenji, his dad probably just thought it might keep him out of his hair for a while. Still, it does make me wonder what his parents are like. Maybe they're totally normal and Kenji is just an aberration. Or, on the other hand, maybe this kind of paranoia and fearful survivalism runs in the family. Hey, want to help me build it? You look like the type to be handy with tools. If I had your help, we could make a really badass bunker instead of just a fallout shelter. I doubt that. Playing soccer before my accident gave me good footwork, but I've never really tried my hand at anything approaching real handiwork. I tell him, I'm not really. I'm busy over the holidays anyway, I'm afraid. A shame. If the feminists ever get a hold of the launch codes, I fear that so few will be prepared. And your fallout shelter will protect you from a nuclear bomb explosion, in the case that this does happen? A fallout shelter isn't meant to protect against the blast. That's what the blast shelter is for. I thought you knew better. My mistake, I say. My home's pretty far away from any major military sites, so the fallout following a nuclear exchange is a bigger concern than the blast itself. What this'll do is keep the dust and other particulates away from me, my food supply, and my sleeping area. It's gotta last me at least 14 days, though. 14 days is a pretty long time, I tell him. It is. I need 1 liter of water a day for drinking, 2 optimally so I can wash as well. Toiletry is easy enough, just garbage bags and a bin placed outside the shelter area. Food means canned supplies, of course. Of course, I say. And the radio is for outside communication? Right. So I can pick up government alerts on what's going on outside. I need a mechanical clock rather than an electric one in case the electromagnetic pulse from a nuclear airburst fries it too. There's all the other stuff I need as well, like extra clothing, matches, and candles. I think I still have time to gather it all, though. Maybe. As much as I hate to say it, I'm a little impressed. He's really researched this and thought it through. Then again, I don't know if I want to live in a post-apocalyptic world with only people like Kenji having survived. It sounds like you really know what you're doing, I say. Damn right I do. It must be hard living in constant fear like this. He hardly ever socializes either, so the fact he went bowling with others is in itself something of a surprise. This mentality reminds me a little of a certain someone. Thankfully, her fear of others doesn't manifest in such a distinctly eccentric way. One thing I know for sure is that I certainly can't tell him exactly why I haven't been hanging around with him much recently. It's late, I tell him. I have stuff to do. I'll think about making a fallout shelter or something, though. Yeah, alright, that's cool. A man has to do what he's gotta do, after all. You should hang out with me sometime, by the way. You're a cool dude. Cool dudes should hang out together, right? For some reason, that compliment actually feels kinda nice. The situation with Hanako being what it is, though, means I probably won't be able to fulfill his request. For now, at least. That'd be good, I tell him. I'll talk to you about it later when I can. Cool. Later, dude. He retreats to his dormitory room. I had better go see Hanako. So we end the episode with our concern for Hanako being expressed and going to go see her in her dorm room. Just as we begin the episode with our concern for Hanako, here being that she is ominously gone from the classroom once again. as we begin Act 4, the final act in the Hanako path here. Our concern for her has not gone unnoticed, however, as it seems to have attracted the attention of the student council duo, Misha and Shizune, first of the reunions in this episode with school companions that we have not seen a good deal of while we've been hanging out with Lily and Hanako. They have noticed our pining for the fjords of Hanako and have decided to join us for lunchtime. And we find out, that they can't really tell us anything more about what's going on with Hanako either, other than that this behavior is normal for us, which just concerns us that much more. Our second reunion is unfortunately with Kenji in the hallway outside of our dorm room as we're trying to leave and go see Hanako. And we have probably the most extended visit with him that we have had since we entered the Hanako pathway. It has been a while since we sat and had to listen to his bizarre conspiracy theories and all that. But it does bring up the whole point of us sitting there wondering just what his family is like, as he brings up, going home and his dad allowing him to build a fallout shelter. Is it because his dad is crazy too, or is it because just a way to get Kenji out of his hair? So next time we will start up with visiting Hanako at the dorm room, and we will see how she is faring.